around the announcement that we had last week, which is kind of surprise announcement that xCloud is launching early in a beta phase in Australia. I saw it on Twitter. I signed up like within a minute, and I spoke to the Xbox team as well. Swinny, you've signed up as well?
Yeah, I signed up like quite a few days later. And was like,
Yeah, a
oh yeah, I
few
need
days
to do
later.
this at some
Yeah,
point.
just
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, just casually, whatever. And Mike,
yep.
did you ever sign up or not?
I did not.
You
No.
probably could sign up and get it right now because I signed up
Oh,
in a minute and I still haven't been bloody invited. I'm like, I'm ropeable. And I check it, and every time I see Swinny talking about it, I'm like, oh, it's just because my account's too new because I switched my account name and everything and started a fresh account. So that was probably not a good idea for this.
wasn't there also a minimum requirement? I think of 100,000 gamer score or something. Swinny? I read something about that.
You have to be the number one. You have to be an Xbox Hall of Famer to get
You
the
have to,
invite.
yeah. They
So
also look at how many hours you spent on Rocket League, and if it's above 300,
You
more than that,
disqualified.
they
higher.
say nah.
Oh
You're
yeah,
out.
for me, yeah, exactly. So yeah, Swinny, you've tried this. You've tried it on your Android phone or tablet or both.
Both. So I have a Galaxy S9, and I have a Galaxy tablet as well. I can't remember the exact version of it. So I wanted to try both the platforms with a bunch of different games across different genres. So first of all, in Australia at least, there's only a handful of titles that are actually available when you load up the game streaming app.
Oh
And
really? It's not like the
yes,
US one.
so it's not everything that you
Oh.
see announced every week, and that makes sense. They did that with the preview in the US as well.
Mm.
I can't remember the exact amount, but it's probably maybe about 25 games or something. It's a pretty small group because when I'm looking at okay, what am I going to try? I was trying to look for things that I know I could just jump in quickly and start a game without going through like a lengthy like intro or something like that. And there weren't that many. There's a lot like Borderlands. I'm like, I'm not going to sit here and like test out Borderlands because I know there's going to be a whole lot of tutorial stuff at the start. And even something like, so Tekken 7 was one of them. Even Tekken 7, I'm like, oh, I'll jump in, quickly play a match. And I had to go through all the, user agreement stuff and then all the update stuff and things like that. So it's the idea of just quickly jump into a game. You still hit the hurdle with
Mm.
general game design of the game has to be built to really allow you to jump straight into something. You are
Oh.
literally just launching a game. There's loading times, which I found a little disappointing. I'm like, well, not loading times, but as in like they felt like Xbox loading times. Not like a powerful PC version running off SSD kind of load time. Which
Yeah.
I'm not sure what is powering these xCloud instances for everyone. I would assume they're PCs as opposed to literally consoles sitting there in data centers.
No.
So,
I'll explain. So the way it works is they have some data centers in like Southeast Asia, and when you're pressing the buttons, there's some guy over in Manila who's just trying to copy your motion as accurately as possible. That's why sometimes there's a bit of input lag and it feels a bit weird, but just give the guy a break. So
okay, I'm sorry, dude. But yeah, like just loading up, I was kind of shocked about that. And I guess that's because some of these games just haven't been really probably designed with SSD in mind, maybe. I'm not saying that they should load like PS5 games, but that was a little like jarring to me. But so the first game I tried out was Minecraft Dungeons, and I tried that out on my phone because I knew that they had a specific touch interface designed for it when you load it up on xCloud. And I loaded it up, went through, it does a few of the, like intro things, and then it starts playing. And I'm waiting to kind of see where it's hitching, and I'm like, huh, it's actually running damn well. Like, I was
oh
shocked.
really?
I was really shocked. Now, Minecraft Dungeons, I'm not going to say is the most taxing game, but there is actually quite a bit of environmental stuff going on. It's 3D. It's not like, there's still a lot going on. And it actually worked really, really well. Now, I guess I have to explain my setup a little bit. Like, I'm not technical, so I can't, answer lots of questions about it. But I'll basically say that I tested majority of this stuff in my lounge room, which is where my Wi-Fi router is located. So I'm probably in the optimal setup for it. But when I did load it up, the first thing it said was, you're on a 2.4 connection, whatever that is. You guys can probably answer the technical part of that.
Oh, so you're not on like the 5 gigahertz
No,
wireless like
no.
Wi-Fi connection. You're on
And
the old school 2.4 gigahertz.
yeah, and
I
what they
didn't think it
say.
works for 2.4 gigahertz.
So what it said is you're on that. This is optimized for 5 gigahertz, whatever.
Mm.
So I'm like, oh, okay. Well, it didn't stop me from playing. So that's you got to keep this in mind. This is my setup and my experience with this.
Yeah.
And even then,
just to add more color to that, you probably should say you've got like a ridiculous NBN connection at your house, right? Like you've got like what 200 megabit or something like that,
which about 250, about 250. Yeah.
Wow.
So pretty damn good internet connection, but obviously my Wi-Fi setup's not great. So, but even saying that, just sitting, I was laying down on the couch at the other end of the room, just playing on the phone, and it worked really, really well. I was actually, and the touch interface for Minecraft Dungeons was really cool. I haven't played Minecraft Dungeons normally, so I can't compare it to playing it for controller on natively on a console or whatever. But I was shocked. I'm like, man, I could really see this. It's just proof that this stuff can work even in its early stages, and even with someone that hasn't got a very good Wi-Fi setup, it actually worked really well. But the problem I started to notice, and this is, I'd say, more so my setup than anything else, was if there were hitches in visually or gameplay wise, they weren't. You could overcome them. You're not playing these games. These aren't the optimal way to play these games. So this is more like, does it work, and does it work to the point where I like and enjoy these games? Yes. But the audio was the problem for me. Was that you notice a hitch in the audio way more than you notice hitch in anything else. Because if you've got a song playing, as soon as it hitches, it's like, man, like it's really unnerving. So what I found was, if I'm going to play any of these games, I'm probably going to play them with background music off myself with my current setup. Obviously I could, if I go and upgrade it and then test it, and then that stuff is streaming better, then fantastic. But the audio was the biggest problem for me, and that went for all these games. But generally speaking, Minecraft Dungeons really well. Next game I tested was Tekken 7, because I'm like, well, a game I can jump straight into, a game that, like all fighting games, input delay is huge. If it has significant input delay. And I was kind of shocked how well it worked, honestly. I'm just sitting there just whacking away in practice. I wasn't playing an online match or anything. And I think this brings me to my point that I think these games, even something like Tekken, it's fine for this kind of service if you're just playing it single player and playing against CPU, and you're not playing it to be a pro and pull off like frame perfect things. But as soon as you start getting to that and start talking about multiplayer, that's where I think this stuff will have a huge impact.
Now, I just want to jump in on one point. You know how you were saying about the audio, and this is a teaser for a segment later in the show, just about Slippy, the Super Smash Brothers Melee rollback modification, where I was reading a long article from the developer, and he was actually saying that the sound was almost the hardest part of the whole development that he had, because it's so obvious when the sounds are wrong or they cut off abruptly. And it's almost like we're in Gen 1 or Gen 0 for streaming games. They almost need to buffer the audio in the background and disconnect from the gameplay logic, and then seamlessly smooth over the catch-ups. Because what it's doing right now, it's just feeding you the audio directly. So if there's any hitches, yeah, like you said, it just, cackles or crackles or does whatever it does, right? Which is horrible.
Yeah, and I noticed that for games that have sweeping orchestral kind of music, so one of the other games I was going to mention is Black Desert Online. That's interesting. It's an MMO. I've already had a character that was quite far into that game, so I'm going to load this up. And it worked pretty well, but the soundtrack, again, it has this orchestral music, and as soon as it hitches, it's like, ugh, it just throws you off. And again, my setup is not optimal with my Wi-Fi. Completely admit that if I wanted to do this and I go and fix that, then maybe that'll be completely a non-issue. But just everything else, out of everything else in terms of gameplay, input delay, like the audio was the biggest thing for me. So after Tekken 7, so yeah, just to finish off with fighting games, I think for single player, just playing them for fun, just casually, it's fine. But as soon as you start to get, you know, competitive, that's where I think game streaming would be pretty tricky. But again, you know, I'm not on an optimal setup. So it was a really interesting try Forza Horizon 4 because out of all the games I tried, this is the one that visually was probably the most impressive. And man, I never played Forza Horizon 4. I've only played 2 and 3. Man, that game still looks amazing, Forza Horizon 4. It's just like, just watching that running on, I was playing these on my tablet.
Still,
Yeah.
the latest one still.
Yeah, and like I've heard also the upgrades for Series X and that for Forza Horizon 4 are amazing. But
There are, but on that quick note, apparently it doesn't actually hit what it can on PC on some of the settings. It's a really weird. They sort of improved some stuff, but some stuff, for whatever reason, they just kept it fairly low, which is
Yeah.
really weird.
But I will say, after Minecraft Dungeons, I was trying these all out on a tablet, so you know I wasn't on a little phone screen. I don't have a clip that I can attach it to my controller or anything, so I needed something I could stand up well. But yeah, Forza was pretty good. You definitely, when it comes to steering and input delay, look, there's definitely a delay there. You know, there is a delay, and again, my setup's probably going to extrapolate that. But as just playing, especially in arcade racing, you know, Forza Horizon 4 is not a simmer of any kind. It felt really nice. Like, I was kind of shocked. Again, I'm sitting pretty close to my Wi-Fi as well, so.
So if you're that close, why don't you just plug an Ethernet cable in
to your phone?
Oh, it's gotta go to the phone. I'm an idiot. Of course. All right.
I'd love to see that. That'd be sick.
Dumb comment back. Why don't you switch on?
No, that's going to be the show
5G.
title. Plug an Ethernet cable to my phone.
I wonder if there's actually a way to do it. Yeah, why don't you just switch the 5G on your modem?
I have no idea.
Are you afraid of nanobots or
no? I just
autism or something?
I was just using whatever's set up. Like you know me, I'm not technical, so there's stuff that I could do easily to improve that. I just haven't done it yet. So that's I'm just playing it. Basically, I'm like, okay, how can I experience this with everything I've got set up? Let's see it. And a
lot of people would have that set up, right? So I think it's actually good representation of. Not everyone has 5G enabled on their modems.
Yeah. And the last game I tried was I want to try first-person shooter. So I loaded up Halo Master Chief Collection, and out of all the games, this was the game that got me into it quickest. I was kind of shocked by that because I loaded it up. It's like, okay, what Halo game? I'm like, I want to try Halo 3. Load that up. You know, you do a little bit of a intro part, and then suddenly I'm playing Halo 3. And I've never played the Master Chief Collection Halo 3, so it's interesting to see the work they've done on that regardless. And I was shocked. That's actually pretty good as well. Now, Halo's always kind of been it's obviously very console FPS, so it has a lot of inbuilt or aim assist and stuff more so than most. But it felt nice. Again, I don't know how it would be competitive playing, but I definitely, like we talked about that fighting games, first-person shooters are probably going to be the trickiest to get across the line with game streaming. But playing single-player Halo actually felt really good, and that's on my 2.4 connection. And now what I did do is I went down to the other end of the house, and obviously you start to see it struggle down there. I imagine if that's 100% my setup. Like that is, you know, if you've got something where the Wi-Fi is strong and you've got it, you know, on that 5 gigahertz, whatever, and it's, you know, reaching ends of your house and stuff, you're probably going to be fine with any of that. So, but for me, like how would I use this? Honestly, I'd probably Minecraft Dungeons might be the only reason I'd use it at the moment, because if I'm going to use it in that part of the house where, you know, it's working well, I'm near enough to a console where I'll just play everything else that I want to anyway. Whereas Minecraft Dungeons, I can see myself just lying down on the couch and playing on touch controls because, you know, it's just gets you away from the TV and stuff like that. But overall, I was kind of shocked how well it worked. I really was. It makes me think. So I have heard a lot of good stuff about Stadia's technology and how the streaming works with that, and it just makes me just wonder. Like, just man, they screwed that up so much because the technology probably works really well. It's just the model and everything. Whereas xCloud, having this as, and I should clarify, xCloud is kind of what they call it, but don't call it. You know, at some point it may be called just Xbox Game Streaming, which is kind of what the logos are and stuff. But as an additional service on top of something like Game Pass, I think this is fantastic. As a standalone service, would I spend money and would I pay for this? No, but that's also because I don't. For anyone that has limited, TV access where they've got multiple people in the house that are using the TV and stuff, I think there's a use case for that, because then you could essentially jump off, and it does sync your cloud saves and everything. We talked about that last week. It brought across everything I had already, which was pretty good.
Oh, so that was one thing that I just wanted to confirm. So you can continue on where you were at on your Xbox.
Definitely.
That's really handy though, because I find I use the Switch mostly because of that, because I can continue on the toilet, in the bathtub, in bed, whatever, right? So
Yeah.
I can see that as a really good use case as well.
Yeah. Now, the only game I really got, so Black Desert, that syncs with the server, so your character's on the server, so that was different. But with Tekken 7, it kept all my progress and stuff when I loaded that up. It didn't keep my acceptance of the user agreement and stuff, so maybe that's console specific. So it treats that, this is a new instance of the game on a new console, so you have to agree to it. But that's a small thing, And I hopefully you don't have to do that each time you load the game up. But yeah, it carries that all across. That's really great. So I think that if in a case where you've got housemates or a family and the you can't always use the TV, and just being able to just jump on and continue game streaming I think that's really good. It's almost like the Switch situation, but it's just streaming it. So I think that's a really good use case. But I wouldn't pay for this service separately outside of Game Pass at the moment, just because it doesn't fit my the way I play games. But I think I was kind of shocked how well it worked, I will say.
Yeah, Mike, like I had the same idea as you. I still feel that, because I'm just, as much as I do desperately want to try this, I just couldn't see myself playing it on the phone all the time. I'm not a big phone gamer. Whereas if this came onto the Switch, it'd be huge for me, because it'd be like, oh, cool, I can like play these games on the Switch. You got your controls integrated in the system and everything. Like that would be huge if they were able to announce that. And then the next level of that would be, if the next Switch, the Switch Pro has, like 5G internet. So you could literally just go around anywhere and probably play it. And I still think Google should have done or figured out a way to do a partnership with Nintendo, because that's kind of like where Nintendo is lacking in, those top line next gen games. If they had a deal on like a very good cloud provider like Stadia or xCloud, I think they would just kind of fill out their roster completely. They wouldn't have to worry about these delays. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you've even seen with Doom Eternal how now that's been cancelled as a physical game, and some people are, hypothesizing that it will switch to being a streaming game. I don't think that's the case, but like they wouldn't have to put all that porting effort in, and I don't think they will in the future. They'll just go, this game's too crazy, it's not going on the Switch, we're just going to make it a cloud game.
Yeah, this sold me on cloud gaming being viable as a future thing, definitely. And
that's huge.
The last thing I'll say as well is when you hit, I was using the Xbox controller, when you hit the like guide button, it brings up a very simplified guide, but I was interested to see that you can actually see your friends and join parties and that through the xCloud, which was pretty neat. I wasn't expecting that to be able to actually do voice chat and stuff. Cool. So
too bad Intergot doesn't have
no, but
anything.
Just if you
device, so you can't join anyone.
Jump into a multiplayer game, the fact that you're able to actually join a party straight through their xCloud game streaming, that's pretty cool. So
that is pretty
cool. That's really cool. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. So hopefully you get it accepted so you can try it out yourself.
Dude, I reckon I won't get an invite. I reckon they've blacklisted me or something like that. Because I actually reached out to them because it wasn't working on the iPhone. And then a whole bunch of people subsequently also agreed that, like, hey, you can't sign up on the iPhone. What's going on? So maybe they're annoyed at me as well. They put me on the list. Because they actually asked me, what's my gamer tag name or whatever it's called. Seriously, like in a direct message, they're like, what's your actual gamer name? I'm like, here it is. And I'm like, have they just put me on a list?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be cool. And Microsoft have been very, very sneaky. So just segueing to another sneaky game. That's a terrible